Welcome in Exiles, and I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. We just got the message that a new patch is being deployed here in 40 minutes, and of course, we did take a look at the patch notes. And of course, they had promised some new buffs and some changes that they're going to be making. And man, I was not expecting the changes in the patch to come out this quickly. So let's go ahead and pop over and take a look. Alright guys, here we have the patch notes, and the first thing I went to see was what was the changes with Siege Cascade and some of the top end mercenary skills. Will they be viable now? Let's take a look here. So the first thing we have here is Siege Cascade's attack time. Looks like it have an increased attack time from 55% to 75%, but now it searches for more targets in a larger radius. Also, it has 15% more damage against immobilized enemies. So it looks like they switched this. So no longer do you have to focus on immobilizing an enemy because you'll get 167% just straight up damage instead. So this may be a changer. I don't know yet. I'll have to test it out. It has a little bit less reload time, and now the quality adds damage against immobilized enemies per quality, so it's 2% instead of 4% quality to increase that damage. So I don't know if this will make Siege Cascade still worth it. As soon as it goes live, I will be testing the skill to see if there's any updates to it, see if it's any better compared to other skills. Um, let's see, I don't think the explosion radius was increased, and it still only targets enemies on the screen, so you can't send out a huge volley against a boss, which is a kind of a downside. I was hoping they would add it to be more like Hellstorm bolts, where it rains down a cascade of bolts of ice, and it doesn't stop based on how many enemies are on the screen. It just keeps raining down. I was hoping Siege Cascade would be updated to be more like that, but it looks like they didn't change anything with that. Let's take a look at the next thing, which is Storm Blast bolts. So they increased the maximum amount of bolts to 30 and 5 bolts in the clip. So 30 active bolts and 5 bolts in the clip, okay. 30% less reload speed. So we'll have to test this out. As you know, guys, I have been using Storm Blast bolts to apply shocks. I've tested Storm Blast bolts. I've tried Plasma Blast. I've been using quite a few things in my third weapon slot just to kind of get the ammo triggered for more damage from our passive tree. The other thing is Plasma Blast now has 47% more damage with its initial hit, 25% less damage with the explosion, so you're getting more damage up front with the blast. I'm not sure if this will be a big changer for Plasma Blast, because in my opinion, Plasma Blast isn't useful because of the attack time and the fact that you can't reduce the attack time with anything. No support gems reduce the attack time, attack speed doesn't affect it, and skill speed doesn't affect it as well. So that's a big downside to Plasma Blast. You move really slow, and the attack time is super long. So in the amount of attack time that you have to charge up that powerful blast, you can fire off 3-4 shots of another skill, maybe even more depending on your reload speed, and do way more damage than shooting off one Plasma Blast. I've tried using Plasma Blast. I was stun, freeze, and then switch to Plasma Blast, but I was better off just continuing to shoot other skills, rotations, and doing more damage. So it looks like they didn't really address that here with this Plasma Blast change. The next thing is Artillery Blast. I don't know, man. They increased the damage by 21%. I have to test it out because, you know, I've been using totems. I tried totems with the damage nodes. The damage was awful, and the artillery ballistas just don't hit the targets. By the time it fires, it just lands in the place that it was fired, and the monster moves away from it and completely avoids the damage that the ballista would do. The ballista should be more lock on target and actually hit the enemies and then explode. So they're increasing the radius of the explosion. I'm not sure that will be helpful, but we'll test it out as soon as it comes back up. So those are the big changes. Got some more damage. I don't know if this will be useful because, like I said, the artilleries have a targeting issue, and they didn't really address that here. The other thing was the honor scaling with the Trial of Sekhemas. This is a big one because if you guys are using my build for the Trial of Sekhemas, if you went through my guide in the previous video, check that out, 1 through 3. I had the worst afflictions ever, and I pretty much cleared 1 through 3 super easy. Check out that guide with honor maximum honor and honor resistance. And this change, and you stay closer to enemies, it's going to be even easier, especially with the freezes and the honor resistance stacking with this 35% less based on the range that you're in. So if I'm in close range, uh, I'll take less honor damage. That's really good. So in turns, this was supposed to be helpful for melee characters, but it also helped us as well. So we just play close to the enemies and get even more honor damage taken. Stacking that with our honor resistance is just going to be a lot even easier than it is now. The other big thing was the purple explosives that caught my eye. This thing absolutely wrecks you guys. I mean, after you kill a monster, you just cleared a map, you got a divine orb on the ground, you run to pick it up, and you just die randomly. And it was some purple ball that just one-shot you. Well, apparently they are reducing the damage of these things so that they do less damage, which is really good because a lot of that on-kill stuff would just one-shot you to the point where I would just stand like as far back as possible and wait like 4 to 5 seconds to make sure everything's clear before I actually go in and loot. Because I was losing so much progress in maps just from some weird uh, on death effect. Uh, on death effects is cool, like to keep you on your toes, but like when every single one of them one shot you, that's kind of a problem because you know you have the ability to run your map. You have your resistances all maxed out. You're doing good, but you can't really see a lot of these on death effects because you're exploding the monsters. There's like a bunch of gore exploding out of it and stuff. When you complete the map, and then all of a sudden you just die. You're like, what was that? And you just didn't see that little purple ball that like actually exploded and killed you. So this is a huge W for that. We have a lot of various other changes in here. Uh, this is another big one. Fast travel between checkpoints. Absolutely fantastic. This would be great for campaign specifically. There's some quests you do in campaign where you have to run to the edges of the map, and then you find that you're at you get that part of the quest, and then you can travel between those checkpoints instead of having to just run all the way back and backtrack. Fantastic. Let's see here. Passive point respecking has been made cheaper. Absolute W, guys. So with this, you'll be able to respec. So I'm gonna be able to respec and just test out stuff. I can't wait till this patch goes live, because I may be able to just fully respec and test out different builds, different weapons. Who knows? It'd be a lot easier to cook builds with this change. I already have over 1 million gold saved up, and yeah, so I'll be able to test out a lot more stuff, a lot easier. And if you're still in the campaign, this would be great for players who are still in campaign, or if your build gets some kind of change and you need to respec, this will make it a lot easier. I'm glad they did this. Passive point respec has been made cheaper. Excellent, especially at higher levels. Fantastic. Let's see, 40 to 50% less gold. That is really good. Let's see here. Anything else? Interesting. Oh yeah, this is really good. So no more elemental resistant penalties after tier 6, tier 11 maps or higher. I was at tier 15 maps and I have pretty much all max resistances. So this will allow me to shed some resistances from gear and focus on some other stuff. So this is a big W for my build, and if you guys are playing my build, you'll probably have your resistance maxed out depending on how good your gear is. But this would be a big W because if you're having trouble with resistances in mapping, now it'd be a lot easier with this penalty removed. This is another big W. So if you ever roll those critical maps, critical damage maps, they do now 40% less bonus damage. Really good. So that'd be less one shots, less chaos damage scaling in the end game. Another big win because I only have 10% chaos resistance currently, and again those purple balls, you see a lot of that chaos damage was what usually killed me in one hit. So that was like the next thing I was working on was chaos resistance, but now it's going to be less damage. That's good. Let's see what else we got here. A lot of the Uh, Trail of Fire deals less damage. Lightning, Ice lasts less time. This is all good stuff. If you're worried about the volcanoes from the first trials boss, this would be very helpful for people who are getting their first ascendancy and you don't have a lot of damage and you're just trying to do the first time trial and your entire map like area is filled with these crazy fissures and you just can't move anywhere. I remember my first time fighting this boss, I lost because there were so many fissures and I had to come back later and try it again. And eventually I did get the boss down, but it was pretty crazy when you're first getting into the Trial of Ascendancy. So a lot of other skills have gotten some changes as well. They're buffing Rolling Slam. So Warrior got a buff. Rolling Slam now does 50% more damage. They buff Eye Shot for the Rangers for the bows. Gains an additional projectile as it levels up. Okay. Barrage. Vine Arrow got nerfed. I've seen a lot of people playing this, and this was doing crazy damage. They weren't intending for it to do damage, but to like buffer other damage skills. So it seems they nerfed Tornado Shot and Vine Arrow, and also they nerfed Magnetic Salvo in terms of you can only use your stuck lightning arrow as opposed to others created by other members of your party. So other people can't shoot the magnetic salvo and then you explode it. Go ahead and buff some of these growth skills. Unearth, Bone Storm, Essence Drain, Contagion, okay. Shield Wall. Alright, get some charm slots to be a lot easier to get now. Added a new lightning damage and electrocute cluster. Oh wow! I didn't know they would do something like this in the early access. So they're actually adding in to the passive tree actively. So they just add nodes into the passive tree. That's interesting. It's now more difficult to chain freeze enemies. I didn't know you could chain freeze. So apparently you could freeze. You can start building up freeze after you've frozen the enemy. And a lot of times I didn't really notice that because our freeze buildup on bosses is not that big. And on rares, you don't really notice a lot of chain freezing. Alright, they did change some of the support skills. All the exposure skills have the damage penalty removed, which is fantastic because I never understood why you would have a damage penalty on these. Like the point of using these is you're taking up a slot to do more damage because of the exposure. Why would you put a damage penalty on there? The mana penalty seems like a better option. Costs more mana to do more damage. That makes more sense. Same with this one. Okay, so bleed builds are getting a buff. So that may be the next thing that I look into is making a bleed build. Because last week got a buff. And I've seen warriors using bleed and I wonder if I could make bleed work with the mercenary with a crossbow. We'll try something. Okay. Adorn applies to time lost jewels. So that's a buff to that item. Okay. More life regeneration and charms modifiers on belts appear more often now on lower eye level. So we'll be able to get more charm slots a lot easier with this. In here they're just fixing a bunch of bugs. So this may be a buff depending if the wrong amount was it giving you too much or was it not giving you the amount that it says. So if it wasn't giving you the amount that it says and you're just getting less, this would be a buff to that item. Okay, so lots of various bug fixes here. I don't think I see anything for my class. Fix a bug where explosion for armor explosion could trigger itself. Huh. Eye shot was unable to cause freeze buildup. That's like bow skills. So I don't see anything with any of the crossbow skills being changed here. Oh, I didn't know this. So you could continuously use emergency reload if you use 2 reload skills. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know you could do that. Alright, so we got a lot of nice buffs here, and 25 minutes to go, guys. Let me test that real quick. Does that work? I didn't know you could use 2 of the same skill gem. You can equip 2 at the same time? Is that really a bug? How's that a bug? I'm using up 2 skill slots to have 2 emergency reloads. I don't understand how that is a bug. They both go on cooldown, but you can use one, and then you can use your second one.
Need more time.
I'm using 2 of them. I'm not sure what they mean by that. Does that mean you can't use 2 emergency reloads? Now this is really interesting because I didn't know you could do this. Because you can empower 2 shots instead of 1. You would have each one, available for emergencies. So are they going to make it so that you can't use 2 emergency reloads? I don't know. But that is interesting. Yeah, so you can use 2. That's not a bug. Huh. Alright. Well, we have the patch coming out here in 25 minutes, guys. I hope everyone is ready to rock. This is going to be amazing. I actually stopped my trial because I'm going to wait till after the trial or after the patch to finish my trial up. I'm on the 4th trial. And I guess we'll just finish up the trial after the patch and see what it feels like. I think I may start using 2 reloads. That seems very interesting. Seems like it'll work out pretty good. Doesn't seem to do like what they're saying in the bug. It doesn't make it have no cooldown, but having 2 works out really well. I think that's all we have for you, Exiles. If you're excited about the patch, go ahead and slam that like button. Subscribe so you don't miss out on future content, future builds. We have the passive tree being a lot cheaper to respec, so you can expect a lot of build changes coming out, guys. I'm going to be testing a lot of stuff coming this week. Now we have smooth sailing playing Path of Exile 2 all week, and we're going to be testing a lot of stuff and a lot of changes, and we'll see what comes out of that. We'll see if Siege Cascade is finally good. I'm not sure if it will be that great because the targeting and the amount of the cascades that come out should not be based on how many enemies are nearby. It should just shoot out a full salvo, if you ask me. So we'll test out Siege Cascade as soon as this patch hits. We'll have some videos out to see if those changes has been beneficial, and I'll let you know, guys. So subscribe so you don't miss out and turn on your notifications. And until next time, Exiles, I hope you're having a great evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and may you get many divine orbs, because divine orbs have skyrocketed in price. I remember buying them for 4 exalts per divine last week, and I used a lot of those to like gamble on different items. I should have saved those divine orbs, but nonetheless, until next time, Exiles, be on the lookout for some future videos. We're gonna have a lot of builds cooking, and have a great day.